Today, the New York City's police commissioner finally pulled the trigger and fired Officer Daniel Pantaleo, seen on video using a chokehold to keep Eric Garner down during a confrontation in Staten Island. In 2014, witnesses say Garner's last words were, "I can't breathe," as the officer choked him. It led to protests and outrage over police use of force, especially when dealing with black men. A state grand jury did not indict the officer, and federal authorities announced last month they wouldn't bring civil rights charges against him.
Because the leadership of this city and this police department is absolutely afraid of the criminal advocates and based this decision not on the facts, but based this decision on the politics.
Eric Garner was killed 5 years ago. It took 5 years for the officer to be fired. I don't want another Eric Garner. I should not be here standing with my brother fatherless.
Calling for the Eric Garner law, which will ban the chokehold and hold officers accountable for their actions. Here to discuss this is community activist Derek Muhammad and attorney and activist Isiah Evangelista. Glad to have you all here on The Factor Uncensored. Is this enough, Isiah?
It's definitely not enough. We saw from the very beginning the travesty of this injustice. We saw a man murdered on TV, on video. Then we saw how the criminal justice system treated Eric Garner. They didn't bring charges to the officer. The Department of Justice turned the other way. And so now we know that the commissioner, he felt distraught by the fact that he had to terminate one of his own, but it was for political reasons, of course. But at the end of the day, the officer, he gets to walk away, he gets to go home, he gets to live, and he gets to get another job where he can harass another black man. But at the end of the day, this father of 6 is dead. And, he can't raise his family, he can't raise his children. And so the travesty is that there is no justice in the end for this family because his life is gone. And, his last words was, "I can't breathe." And when we're dealing with freedom, justice, and equality in the American justice system, especially in the criminal justice system, black people, black women, black men, we cannot breathe because we cannot get fair and equal justice.
Derek, when you hear that the grand jury chose not to indict him, are you at all surprised by that?
I'm not surprised by it at all. But just because I'm not surprised by it does not make it right. Malcolm X said it like this. He said, if someone sticks a 9-inch knife in your back and take it out 6 inches, that is not progress. That is not justice. And that's basically what we're dealing with the firing of Officer Pantaleo. Let's just be real. There are all kinds of laws and loopholes that allow these police officers to appeal these firings and go and find other jobs. Officer Pantaleo can find another job, but Eric Garner's children can't find another father. What you have is a murderer who was not punished for what he did. He was only punished for the way that he did it. He wasn't punished for the murder, he was punished for the chokehold. But if he's guilty of using the chokehold that took Eric Garner's life, then how is it that he's not guilty for killing this black man? So I think today was a bittersweet day for the Garner family. If they wanted him to be fired, then I am happy for them. But for us, it's just another case where we're not receiving justice. And in this country, we don't want half justice. We don't want 1/3 justice. We don't want 2/3 justice. We want justice, and we did not get it today.
In many instances, we could get some form of justice when the federal government gets involved, but we saw both administrations, the Obama administration and the Trump administration, both chose not to take action.
Absolutely, this is a travesty. We saw it from the very beginning. We saw the fact that during the investigation, the officer lied about the content and how many cigarettes that Mr. Garner had. We saw the discrepancy in the investigation on all levels. So we're asking for there to be fair and equal justice in all the systems that have shown black people over the years, over history, that they cannot be fair and equal to us. So again, it's not a surprise that from the top to the bottom that we have not seen justice. And yes, again, we feel for the family. We're glad that they got some semblance of justice, but the reality is still a loss of life, and that's not just. All right.